Virgo forecast first, and then we'll get to Summer of the USS Hornet. She is the lead paranormal investigator at the Hornet, and it should be awesome. Hopefully they can get her. I talked to her earlier, so Virgo. It is September. Happy birthday to all the Virgos out there. The Virgo forecast. Before I get into Virgo, I do have to say this. There's an interesting thing happening in the stars coming September 23rd and the 25th. It's actually called the lottery aspect. Yes, the lottery aspect. I would say anyone out there listening, give it a try, especially Virgos, because right now this dragon energy is right there on your second house of wealth and possessions. The luck is with you, Virgo, but it also pertains to all of us. Hell, I'm going to give it a try. On September 23rd, we have this new moon in Libra that's going to create this awesome opportunity to initiate a new partnership endeavor of some sort within your business and personal life. If you're already attached, well, there may be a happy occurrence between you and your mate. If you're not attached, there's going to be someone coming into your life. But on September 25th, we're all going to feel, this is an energy for the whole zodiac, but Virgo especially. You're going to feel like you've hit the jackpot in some way. With the luck of Jupiter, and Jupiter is cruising through every sign has Jupiter cruising through a different house in the zodiac. With that being said, lucky Jupiter in Leo is going to be the perfect time to see that luck manifest. We have this trine of Uranus in Aries, and it's an unexpected windfall that's going to bless all of us beyond our wildest dreams. So everybody, not just Virgo, something big is going to happen to us in different parts of our housing system. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win money. There are things that you get and come across that money doesn't matter sometimes. It's those little things. Anyway, on to Virgo. Virgo is feminine and modest. It's the virgin of the zodiac. Virgo is practical. Virgo is organized, detail-oriented, and very much a perfectionist. Let's see. Virgos can be picky and fussy, especially with food. Now, it makes sense that they are picky and fussy with food because this sign rules the nervous system and the intestines, and you are prone more to stomach trouble. And so even if someone is not a Virgo and they have, for example, their Saturn in Virgo, you're going to have some stomach trouble. Saturn is the disease principle sometimes, and disease can set in. But Virgo does rule these areas, so I know many Virgos that get a lot of upset tummies and whatnot, and that's Virgo. Just, drink some good ginger tea, and you'll be okay. The sign is ruled by the planet Mercury. The mineral is Mercury. They're the great communicator. They share the same planet with Gemini, Mercury. Everything is about communication, talking verbally and also in writing. The color is green. Now, I do have a word of advice for Virgos. Don't be too critical on others, as this sign is very prone to loneliness and solitude due to their high critical attitude. No one's perfect, not even Virgo. But Virgos are also very critical of themselves. So I always say to a Virgo, give yourself a pat on the back for your accomplishment. It's not perfect, but don't be so hard on yourself. And I know a lot of Virgos that are very hard on themselves, and therefore they're hard on others. So Virgo, love yourself a little bit more. We've got a lot of things going on for Virgo right now. With this universal dragon head in the Aries, in the Libra Aries tail, and it's right on your second house, which is Libra. Remember that we are every part of the zodiac. Just because someone's a Virgo, Virgos take on Libra qualities in their second house. They take on Capricorn qualities in their fifth house of love. We are every part of the zodiac, and everybody's UCI, which is your unique celestial identity, is we're all different. No two Virgos are alike. Now this is regulating your finances and your self-esteem, Virgo. And this energy is going to stimulate all affairs regulating your wealth, and you're going to be forced to make more money, and you're going to be forced to undergo some sort of a financial and spiritual rebirth. The challenging tail of the dragon will be in the sign of Aries, right on your 8th house, regulating metaphysics, corporate endeavors, and death. Now, when I say death, I'm not talking about a physical death. I am talking about a rebirth possibly within the metaphysical realm. For the Virgos that are listening to me tonight that I've done readings on, you can, I've opened up that world for you of metaphysical with the readings I've done for some of my Virgos. That might be where it's at. You'll have to keep me posted on this, Virgo. Now, Jupiter is cruising through your 12th house of your subconscious. Your mind will be strong, and you will not be prone to feed into the negative. So, with that planet of Jupiter right there in the 12th house of the subconscious, it's perfect. You won't feed into too many negative things, and you will get through it more than other signs right now. Your mind's going to be strong, and you will proceed. You will follow through. Now, you also have the planet of Pluto going into your 5th house of love, romance, and creativity. This is also children. This is the 5th house. So here's an example. If there are any Virgos out there that are like trying to conceive or get pregnant, it's going to be more difficult at this time because you have the planet of Pluto, which is life and death. It's also constriction sometimes and chaos. That's Pluto. It also does represent sex, but because it's placed in this position, it won't be until December 23rd of 2014 when this energy will leave. And if you are trying to conceive, it will be easier at this time. So, just a little heads up for Virgo, and all you Virgos out there, every month I run a special. The website's just about done. It's halfway built. I'm building the other half this weekend. It's absolutely impossible to build something when you have kids around. It's one of those things. I need complete concentration to do it so I don't screw up. But anyway, I always run a special every month for Virgo, a $30 full life reading. If you're interested, alphastarradio.com, or you can hit me up on my email address, alphastarradio@gmail.com. But that's what's going on for Virgos. Any of my Virgos out there have any pertinent questions they want to ask me, go right ahead and shoot me an email or find me on Facebook. I really like to pick up more likes on Facebook for Alpha Star Radio. So go on in there on Facebook and like my page, please. Now, we have a full moon coming on September 8th, and it is in Pisces. This is going to be I don't really know how to say this. This is the same damn energy that the 9/11 attack happened. This is the exact same energy. Not trying to scare the hell out of anybody, but it has to do with religion and illusions, oil, the Middle East. There's going to be, on my notes here so I can finish up, there's going to be a major turning point, actually, between the U.S. and the Middle East. You're going to see a lot of action after the 8th and interesting things taking place there. Like I said, this is the same energy that produced the 9/11 attacks. Unfortunately, with what's coming, I see a draft possibly taking place. I don't know how successful a draft is going to be with this generation of kids. Maybe back in the day, the Vietnam era, I'd say, hey, okay, definitely. But we're dealing with the generation that between the ages of 18, how old do they draft? I don't know how high they draft. 18 to 25, maybe 30? I'm not sure, but this generation's going to rebel against that. There are many young Americans out here that I know of, especially, that are not going to fight for their half-assed government. simply put. I wouldn't either. I worry about the young ones, the 18-year-olds, the ones that they pull out of high school and draft them. I don't know how successful they're going to be. There will be a revolution and a revolt if that happens. But who knows? And I'm getting a message, so let me just check this for a second. Looks like we still can't get a hold of my guest, so I'm going to carry on here, and maybe we'll just take a few-minute break. Hopefully Benny can hear me, and we'll see what we can do. Where was I? Now, with this trend, it also can bring on depression after the full moon. So if you know where your Neptune is Pisces. It rules depression and also rules alcohol. If you happen to get in a kind of a depressed state, realize that this energy will pass in a few days, from 7th, 8th, 9th. After that, this energy will pass, and you won't feel as depressed. But with this trend, I highly recommend no consumption of any alcohol, especially if you're driving. You're going to pay the price after the full moon. Now, on a more positive note, this is the perfect time to enjoy the arts, theater, concerts, art galleries, anything like that, or create your own beautiful masterpiece. Also, it's perfect for shoe shopping, pedicures, as Pisces rules the feet. Makes sense, don't it? It does to me. Maybe it doesn't to you. I've been doing this for too long, so it does make sense to me. I'm kind of bummed because I can't get a hold of Summer. And actually, I have a friend, a paranormal investigator, who is she's speaking on the ship on the 24th of October. So I'm kind of curious what's going on. But I do, before I try and find the guest, I do want to make a small apology. Apparently yesterday, everyone was having a real crappy day. I noticed this. I posted something not so nice on Facebook about Joan Rivers. And I suppose my post wasn't the nicest of posts. I could have been a lot harsher than that. And I held back because I thought that would have been too harsh. But apparently what I had said was harsh enough. So, no, I didn't like her. I'm not going to waste my time reading her stars to anybody. But it is what it is, and I know a lot of people who loved her, and I think it's a generation thing. If you're over 50, you loved her. If you're under 50, yeah, not so much. I had a friend tell me yesterday, oh my God, I was fighting with my grandma over her. She loves her. And I'm going, okay, well, I've been fighting with people on Facebook over her, and my East Coast family let me hear it. I was like, okay, I'll apologize. Doesn't mean I still have to like her, but I'll apologize. Oh, well, you know what? My guest is in the chat room. Hold on. Denny, let me go to a quick break because our guest is in the chat right now. And we can try and get her in. I really want to get her in here. These things happen. Hi, Summer. How are you?
I am doing well. Sorry about that.
That's
technical difficulties, I suppose.
No, it happens, and, I have a tendency I can just kind of yak away, but I really wanted to have you on because this radio station hasn't had an opportunity, I don't think, unless you've been interviewed by other paranormal investigators here at the station, but I had you on terrestrial radio before, which was AM, and I really wanted to bring you on here because, tonight, I wanted to talk a little bit about the USS Hornet, which is located, if everyone doesn't know, Alameda, California. And you want to maybe introduce yourself to my audience a little bit, Summer?
Yeah, sounds good. Well, my name is Summer, and I am the founder of Alameda Paranormal Researchers. We're a paranormal team based in the San Francisco Bay Area, and we've been fortunate enough to be asked by our local haunted hotspot, the USS Hornet aircraft carrier, to be their official paranormal team to the ship because, so many things paranormal happened there. So they wanted us to come in and kind of help them figure it out and then help them lead paranormal ghost tours on the ship. So they have a real successful program now, and we help them out with that, and it brings in money to the ship, and we're honored to be a part of it.
Now, it's my understanding that the USS Hornet, it's like a national treasure. It's done a couple of tours of battle.
Oh yeah, it's a historic monument, and it officially opened as a museum in the 90s. But basically, the history of the ship is it was a major factor in World War II in winning the war in the Pacific. It was basically in all the major battles after the attack on Japan, and it was out to sea for, I believe it was 16 months in a row, just fighting in the Pacific, and it never was really damaged in battle. It sort of had this mysterious sort of rabbit's foot where the guys never really got hurt, or the ship really never got hit by a torpedo or anything, which is really rare considering how deadly and horrible those battles were. But sadly enough, the things that happened there that were that caused deaths and things like that were either like natural disasters, like there was a tsunami and a rogue wave that cut up the ship pretty good, and then a lot of sadness on the ship since they were out at sea for so long. Like I said, 16 months consecutively. A lot of people actually took their lives during that time. So it has a really great history, and then there's sort of a sad history behind all that.
Before we get into the sad history, because I've done a paranormal tour there with, I don't know if it was your team, but I've done one. My understanding is this ship is actually the Hornet 2, but the first one is actually sank in the bottom of, and sitting at the bottom of the Pacific. Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the second ship, and this ship has seen a lot of tragedy.
Yeah, actually the name Hornet has been around since the 1700s, so technically I think this is like the 8th ship. But the actual aircraft carrier Hornet, there was one before this one, and it was sunk at the Battle of Santa Cruz. So essentially, like 6 months after that ship sank, they built this new one, and that was in, I believe, 1943. And so, sort of right in the middle of the war, here comes the new Hornet, and it kind of got that nickname, the Gray Ghost, from the Japanese, because they thought they had sunk the Hornet. Now here's this new Hornet, and they're like, well, didn't we get rid of this one? What is this new one? Because it was manufactured so fast.
Oh, that's cool, though. I mean, I think that's neat. That's like the Japanese are going, uh-oh. Here's a ghost.
Exactly. Exactly. I think it was a big wake-up call for them.
Oh, funny. Oh, that's great. Now, I have a couple of questions. I know you're one of the lead paranormal investigators there at the ship. How many investigators besides yourself are on board there?
Well, our team is the primary resource there, but there is a group now, sort of a paranormal Hornet-based group, and I think there's probably about, I'd say 15 to 20 people now that help out on these paranormal tours. They actually have them fairly frequently now. I think there's, well, of course, this time of year they're happening quite often, but usually they do it once or twice a month, having a paranormal tour. And of course, smaller paranormal groups can actually rent out the ship to themselves as well and do their own private investigation.
That was my next question, because my team, I think I mentioned this to you in my email, and the lady did call me. I haven't had any time to call her back, but my team wants to do that. They want to go and investigate that ship. So I thought, okay, well, I know some people. I better give them a call. What a perfect opportunity to have her back on my show.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun, and that's exactly how our team got connected with the Hornet. We just called them up and said, hey, we would like to investigate the ship, and we rented it for basically a night, had so much activity that we rented it out again like a month later. And, you know, all the evidence we presented to them, they loved it, and they were like, you know, you guys should really help us out with this program. And, you know, of course, we were honored, and we said, of course, we'll do that. And so now, I mean, I'd say I've probably investigated the Hornet, you know, 300-400 times now. Like, I can just go there anytime I want and say, hey, I'm going to poke around for a couple of hours, you know, and they're really cool about it. So it's certainly been a good run with them, and I appreciate it.
Oh, that's really awesome. I love that ship. It's beautiful. In fact, I actually have a picture of myself standing next to the Apollo 11, the manned space mission. I have a picture of myself. I'll post that. I'm saluting like a sailor. It was when they had that heavy metal concert there. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So they had this one end of the ship was a heavy metal. There was like 5, 6 bands, and then at the other end there was an investigation going on. You can pay to do investigations. But I was kind of, the people asking the questions were so intoxicated. It was like, okay, obviously they're not serious.
Right. And you do get that when you go into these sort of huge group settings. So that's why it's always fun to do sort of the smaller events that maybe aren't necessarily around Halloween, because that's when you'll start getting a lot of people who are just kind of out for a thrill and not really that interested in the paranormal.
That's true. You know, they're just there because it's fun. You know, well, let me ask you something. I know there's been some hangings there that some guy hung himself right by this light in that. I can't explain the ship as well as you, but when I was there was this one area of the ship where there's this light, and they're saying that you get a lot of EVP readings in this one specific area where this guy hung himself. There's been a lot of suicides, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Yeah, actually, they won't tell you this. Like, if you ever go there and take a sort of a historical, normal tour, they won't tell you this, but the USS Hornet, even though it was so decorated during World War II, I mentioned earlier it has sort of a dark history. It actually has the most suicides in all of the history of the Navy on any ship or submarine. The USS Hornet has the most suicides. And I think that's a big reason why you get so much activity there. There's some sadness. And, you know, the ship is great, and I have a lot of fun there. But there are definitely some moments where you kind of feel overwhelmed. And I can't explain what that is. I'm not an intuitive or psychic or anything like that. I mean, I'm definitely not one of those people. But I've definitely had moments where I felt the sadness that I knew wasn't coming from me. And it was very, very distinct and odd. And so I think it has a lot to do with that. So the hangings, there's been quite a few, actually. The most famous one that I think has been talked about on all of the paranormal TV shows has happened in the forward part of the ship. It's called the forecastle, and that's where the big anchor chains are. So if you ever visit the ship, just go to the front, And we get activity there all the time, during the daytime especially, oddly enough. So it's not just a place to go to, like at night, to have that spooky setting. I mean, you can get stuff any time of day there.
Well, when I was there was a few things that had happened to me, and at first I thought it was BS. I was with a group of people. We were up in the upper deck part. I guess it was the communication deck. I think it was the communication. We had to go up this huge flight of stairs that were almost like straight up. It was steep steps, but everyone was in the group. Someone was talking, and she was talking about, some of the experiences that people on board that work there have had with, 1940s music playing, that old big band music. They could hear music playing, and then they were saying sometimes the ladies would have someone yank on their ponytail, or, I was in the back of the group, the very back, and I was just sitting there going, okay, yeah, right. And, I don't know if it was a ghost reading my mind or what, but 30 seconds later, there was a tug on my leather jacket, and I looked over, and there was nobody there, and I'm just going, and I'm looking back, and both sides going, all right, are they just, messing with me? It was interesting. And then the other thing that had happened to me on board is there was a bathroom near that area, a restroom that was kind of situated away from the concert that we were at, and it was really creepy going in there because I was the only person in there. And this is, coming out right after the tour. And I'm going, I'm all alone in here. There's not one single soul in this bathroom. And as I'm leaving, I hear the toilet flush. And I'm going, oh, I'm out of here. I ran out of the bathroom so fast because I knew there was nobody else in there. It was just creepy. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, and those are very common things that happen. I know exactly which bathroom you're talking about. That we call that the creepy corner, because you actually, if you would have walked a few steps further down the hallway, you would have come to the creepy hallway, which some really strange things have happened there. Anything from footsteps, people being grabbed, and most recently there's a new sort of spirit that's been popping up. We just call him Shadow Man. We don't know who he is or where he came from, but he's new and he likes to hang out in that area. I don't know. I kind of call him the peeping Tom because he's right near that women's restroom. And he's sort of a new figure that's been around, and he's not scary or anything like that, but he just likes to observe. So that's why I call him the peeping Tom. So watch yourself when you go in there.
Oh, great. Well, maybe you can put this now. Great. That's funny. Well, what are some of the experiences you've had on board being the investigator? Can you share with the listening audience some of the ones that really stand out more than others?
For me, earlier I said I've investigated so many times there. And sometimes you don't really get much, and that's normal, I think, for any paranormal hotspot. The ghosts just don't come out and perform for you on command. That's not how it works.
Right.
However, I've had some very significant paranormal experiences there, and I guess I'd say the number one experience that I can remember is up in, it's called the Admiral's Quarters. And near the Admiral's Quarters, there's a hallway where they have a couple of rooms where the pilots were briefed before their missions. They're called the Ready Rooms. And that's part of our paranormal tour. We go into those Ready Rooms, and we go there for a very specific reason. And that's because in between the two Ready Rooms, there's a hallway, and quite often we'll see a shadow man pacing down that hallway, and he'll just kind of kick his head into the room if you're standing in it. And I guess what we've determined is that those rooms were for officers. It was a classified area. And here we are, a bunch of civilians in there, asking it to make noises or, knock or say their name, do EVPs and EMFs and all that stuff. And I feel like there's just a guy there that kind of observes us and is like, get out of here. So with that in mind, one night I was trying to communicate with this person, and I actually brought a World War II Navy-issued doughboy hat. Now this is like an authentic piece of Americana here. So I brought this hat, and I made my co-investigator, I made him wear it. And I said, hey, if you don't like him wearing that hat, I want you to do something really significant, and I'll make him take it off. And as soon as I finished that sentence, the millimeters lit up. There were big, heavy footsteps in the hallway, and this guy that was with me, he got touched. And I'm watching all of this happen. And then as soon as he took the hat off, it was quiet, not a peep the rest of the night.
So it had to do with the hat. Something about
it
the
was
hat.
I think it was the hat.
Who was wearing the hat?
It was one of our investigators. His name was Brian.
Okay.
And because I didn't want to wear it because I'm a woman, so I didn't know if it would make as big of an impact if they thought it was cute or whatever. So I made him wear it. And, they did not like that. And the millimeters went crazy. I mean, it was the loudest footsteps I had ever heard on that
What
ship.
kind of hat was it? Was it a military hat that said the Hornet on it, like for the sailors that have been on board?
Yeah, it's a World War II Navy issued hat. It's just called a doughboy hat, so it's sort of flat, and the non-officer guys would have worn them. So it was kind of like a double whammy there. It was a hat that would not belong to an officer, and we were in an area where officers were only allowed. And it was from World War II, an authentic piece that I actually had purchased from a World War II vet through eBay. And every time I have that hat now, lots of crazy things happen on that ship. We get like the best EVPs, we get the most interaction. So I really think that it has a lot to do with either the guys on the ship that are there don't like the hat or think it's disrespectful, or they do like it. It's hard to tell because we haven't got a confirmation either way. So we keep continuing to experiment with it until we can figure out, is it okay to use this hat or do you hate it? Because obviously we want to be respectful.
Especially back then, women weren't in the Navy, so I could see how they'd get pissed off with a woman wearing that hat.
Oh, yeah, but, in that environment, most of the time women are actually, the best way I can describe it is they're being flirted with. Like, we get the girls who get their shoulders rubbed, their hair touched. We've gotten the cat call whistling. So it's all been in a very sort of flirty style, which is what I think you would expect from guys who are stuck on a ship for forever.
Yeah, a bunch of horny sailors.
Yeah, I guess, that's exactly what I would describe them as. Now, for the men, that's a different story. The men are definitely treated a little bit different.
Well, I had heard an experience once with a gentleman, and I actually heard it on TV. Maybe you can validate this for me, and maybe you don't even know, but he was a military officer of some sort in the Navy, and I don't know if he was wearing a hat from another ship. I think he was wearing a hat from another ship, and the spirits were messing with him. As long as he said permission to come aboard, they stopped messing with him. Is that true?
Yeah, that's a true story. That was from a gentleman named Gary. He still works there. He's a docent that comes to the ship, and basically he has a hat from his ship that he served on, and he has a cabin aboard the ship that he'll spend the night in occasionally, like if there's a late event or whatever. And he says, the spirits would just like knock on the door, there'd be heavy footsteps, there'd be somebody like laying on his chest or like pushing him down. Kind of, he called it sort of like hazing, described it as hazing in like a frat house. But, this kind of spooked him, so every time he comes aboard, he says permission to come aboard. And whenever he does that, it kind of leaves him alone.
Well, that's good. So there's a respect there somewhat,
Exactly. I think, the Hornet is not a place with sort of scary, evil people. It's a place of respect. It's a place of love. But you've got these guys that kind of are mischievous, right? So they like to mess around. But I would never say that they're hostile or anything like that. It's more of a playful type of environment.
I've never picked up too much bad, and I mean, there's energy there, yes, I picked up that, but I've never picked up anything like real negative. You know, like if I've done some investigations where the energy is just extremely negative. I mean, without an EVP, you can just kind of go, oh, whoa, okay, you know. But I've never felt that on the Hornet. I mean, there's always, a second time around to see, but I actually have someone in the chat that wanted to ask you a question, and she wants to know, do you do other paranormal things besides the ship? Do you investigate are you just solely at the ship, or do you go other places?
Oh, no. Our team, we call ourselves a world-based paranormal team. And what does that mean? Well, we, as often as we can, obviously we're not millionaires, but as often as we can, we like to get out of Alameda and travel around the world investigating. And if you go to our website, alamedaparanormal.com, there's a link there that says places, and you can see this long list, probably, I think, 50 to 60 places that we've investigated, and they're all over the world, from Australia to London, all over the United States. So we definitely travel a lot, and we investigate a lot. Actually, I've only been home for 4 days. I just got back from an investigation in Missouri, actually. That was really probably one of the scariest ones I've ever done. So that's sort of something that we pride ourselves on. We try to get out to as many places as we can and sort of formulate our own opinions on these locations, rather than, watching the Ghost Adventures or Ghost Hunters TV shows and taking their word for it. We want to see what it's like for ourselves.
So did you go to the Devil House? Was that the house you went to?
No. We went to, no.
Okay.
No, we haven't been there.
So do you do residential stuff, not just, hotels or asylums? You do it all, residential and bigger places.
Yeah, our residential stuff we don't really have on the website, just for the, we don't like to advertise people's homes and things like that, which our clients usually want to keep things anonymous.
Absolutely.
So whenever we have any evidence, we don't really post it online when it comes to a residential case. So you won't really see any of that on our website. And also, we don't do them very often, because what we've found is that there's a lot of people out there that are just kind of looking for attention, and then you talk to them and start asking them sort of validating questions on what's going on in their house, and sometimes they'll laugh, or they'll just kind of break character, and you can tell that they're not being honest, and so we try to weed those people out by doing a phone pre-interview. And so I'd say for residential stuff, we've probably just done a handful, whereas we've done, public stuff. The Hornet, I don't count the Hornet in any of this, but, just locations around the world, it's like 50 or 60. So it's a very small percentage of our total investigations.
Well, that's good. And I get it with the privacy thing. And, people always want their 5 minutes of fame, and then when you interview them, they're like, you're so full of it.
Right.
It's like that 5 minutes of fame. They want just that little minute of fame when it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So I posted it on the chat room, and it's alamedaparanormal.com, obviously www for that. And it's posted in the chat, and I just announced it. And let's see, what other questions did I have for you? Oh, yes, you have events coming up this next month for October. Can we let the audience know about that a little bit? What's going on? I know I have a guest speaker. A friend of mine's a guest speaker with the Hornet next month.
Yeah, we actually, October, as I'm sure you can imagine, is one of our busier times. We have so many events in October. We have one in the East Coast. If you have any East Coast listeners, it'll be in Buffalo, New York, at the Buffalo train terminal there. It's on October 4th. And then on October 11th, we're doing the Mare Island Parafest, which is Basically, a couple of lecturers will come out, talk about some paranormal topics. We have a Bigfoot expert and a local radio show host who's also a paranormal investigator. He'll come out and talk about his experiences. And then we'll do a ghost hunt of the Mare Island Preserve, which used to be a naval base, very similar to here in Alameda, where the Hornet lives. And then the big event is at the Hornet on October 24th. It's called Ship of Spirit, and it's their annual event that takes place around Halloween every year. And basically, it's a couple of paranormal lectures. So our part in that is we'll basically show you like a best of the Hornet. So all of our best paranormal evidence that we've collected throughout the years, we'll show that in a short film and kind of talk about all of our favorite places on the ship. And if you do come out, I'm very, very good at taking my group to locations that aren't normally on the tour route. So if you do come out, make sure you get in my group, because I like to bend the rules a little bit. And the last time I did that, we actually caught a shadow figure, and it was insane. It was just like this big claw that we saw that kind of came out of the shadow. It was really scary. It was really fun. It was fun and scary at the same time.
That's pretty.
What's that?
How does one get into your group? I mean, if I do this, I want to obviously go see my friend lecture, but I also like to maybe get in your group and investigate.
Yeah. I mean, the best thing, so after the lectures, we'll break into teams, and so during that process, just, raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be in Summer's group, or really any of the Alameda paranormal people. We usually wear our T-shirts that have our logo on it, so you can just get in any one of our groups, and we're all pretty good about taking little detours on our tours. So don't tell on us, but I'm just telling you a little secret here so you can have a little extra fun on these tours. And so if you want tickets to that event, you have to get them through the Hornet and just visit their website, which is uss-hornet.org. And there's a link there to purchase those tickets. And for the other events, you can just visit our website and then click the events link, and it has all the information you need for those events.
All right. I think I spelled the Hornet wrong. Sorry. I'm typing as you're speaking about the website. I'm trying to type it in there, and I just spelled it wrong. All right. Well, that sounds like fun, and that's just for October. Is there any other stuff coming up? November, December. Any more rock concerts? Any more metal shows?
There are no more metal shows that I know about, but basically, if you can't get out to the Hornet in October, they've got something paranormal themed every single month. So if you just look at the calendar, it's called the History Mystery Tour. So there's basically two types of tours there. You can do like sort of a short, quick and dirty tour, which is about 3 hours, and I think it's like $35, something like that. Or you can spend the night on the ship, and they do that a few times a year, and that's about $100. So if you can, the overnight stay is well worth it. It's a very low price for everything you get. And if you ever go to other paranormal hotspots around the country, $100 is nothing in comparison to what these other places charge. And you get a place to sleep. So if you ever come to the Bay Area, try finding a hotel for $100 a night. You'll be hard-pressed to do that. Or it'll be in some really scary area.
Roach-infested motel in Oakland.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So the Hornet is the place to stay if you want to stay for under $100 and get the ghost bugging you, right?
Exactly. Yeah, just on the most recent overnight tour we had there, actually a friend of mine that was staying on there, she woke up in the middle of the night, for whatever reason, sat up in her bunk and saw a guy in the Navy white uniform walk right by her bed. It scared the crap out of her, and after she settled down, she was like, I can't wait to do that again. So she's going to be at the next one. So you never know what will happen there. Like I said, sometimes it's quiet, so be prepared for that. But there are these times where the activity is insane, and you could very well see a full-bodied apparition.
I have another question to ask you because I don't know if it's true or not. And we're coming down to probably another 6-7 minutes, but I want to ask this, and it was something I really wanted to ask. Some guy had an experience there, and this is why I asked you, because sometimes people exaggerate and you don't know what's real and what's make-believe and what they're making up. Some guy, I don't know if he stayed, I'm assuming he stayed the night there, and he got stuck in bunk number 10, and that night, something was laying on him in that bunk, like they were pissed off that was the spirit's old bunk. Is that true?
Yeah, actually that's bunk 11, and you can find that in the front forward part of the ship, right near the forecastle, which we talked about earlier, where the hangings have occurred. So it's a room right next to that, where the bunks are, and that's the junior officer's bunk. And so bunk 11 is pretty infamous, and that guy that had that experience is not the only one that's had that experience in that bunk. So I've slept there a few times, and, it's a really weird feeling when you sleep in that bunk. I know people have been touched when they've slept in that bunk. I know that people have had their things fallen out of the locker in that bunk. So it's definitely sort of a hot spot there. And we've got some really great EVPs on that bunk as well. So that story, I'd say, is completely true, and that's actually one of the places we'll take you on the tour. So.
All right. Well, I've been in the infirmary. Is that anywhere near the bunks?
The infirmary is actually on the second deck, so it's below the main deck that you come in on. There are bunks there. You can sleep in there, too, if you want. Not very many people do. They usually get scared out of there. I'd say it's probably the most haunted area of the ship is the sick bay, which is on the second deck.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's pretty active most nights.
Well, even the night we were there, I was right behind the tour guide, and his EVP was going nuts in there. It wasn't going nuts in any of the other areas we had gone to, but that infirmary, I could feel the hairs on my arms standing up. I was like, oh. Well, and then I saw the EVP moving, and he's looking at me going, see, there's activity in here. So you're right. The infirmary is a hot ticket for action.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've ever been in there without getting at least something, some sort of EMF hit or a great EVP or something.
Well, also, too, with the Hornet, it's not just a place for paranormal investigation. There are some things you can bring the family if, you don't want to do the whole ghost thing. There are things for kids to do there, too, with my understanding. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's a living museum. So it's kept exactly the way it was in World War II. So there's lots to do. Even if you come on one of the ghost tours, the History Mystery Tour, they call it History Mystery because you can either do a late night tour and just get the history portion of the ship while it's closed to the public. It's like a private history lesson. Or you can do the mystery portion, which is the ghost hunting. So, and you can go anytime during the day and take some great free tours of the ship. You just pay the admission to get on the ship, but then they've got these docent-led tours all over the ship, and they'll tell you how these things work and what were they used for, and it's a lot of fun, and they'll take you to places on the ship that aren't normally open to the public.
It's pretty cool, and they have like a flight simulator, too, is my understanding.
Yeah, they sure do. It's a lot of fun, and it's very inexpensive, and basically the Hornet's a non-profit, so any money you pay to the ship goes to the ship to keep it there, keep it going. It doesn't get a lot of funding from the government, so they really rely on the money from the museum patrons and the ghost hunting groups and all of that. So definitely come check it out if you're in the area. It's well worth the money, and it's not very expensive for a day out with the family.
Awesome. And it was opened, in October of '98, this museum? Is that my understanding?
I'm sorry, say it again?
Was that museum, the museum part of it, was that open? I thought I read October of 1998 it became a museum.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was in the early 90s, the museum group basically saved it from being scrapped. They were going to chop it up and basically sell off the parts and the metal and recycle it, and they saved it and then opened it up as a museum in the late 90s. So, they're constantly updating it and putting new things in there, but it's definitely a slow process. Like I said, they don't get a lot of money because the government was just ready to basically throw it away, garbage.
Oh, I'm so glad they did it. I mean, it's a National Historic Landmark, I identify, when I'm in the East Bay, I identify where I'm at. There's the Hornet. I'm in Alameda.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of the Bay Area, and, we'd like to keep her there. So, anything anyone can do, even if you drop a quarter into the donation box, they appreciate it. So, definitely come out and visit and tell your friends about it.
Well, you'll definitely
it's a good place.
You'll definitely see me on the 24th, and I'm going to run it by my para team that I'm with, which is Big Time Paranormal, and see if they'd be interested. But definitely the 24th I'm into. I'll probably email you after the show or sometime this weekend with just a little more information about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be glad to have you out, and come say hi and get in my group, and we'll take you to some fun spots.
Sounds cool. Summer, it was a blast having you on. As always, you always do a great show with me. Very informative, and I just am stoked. Great show. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me, and good luck. And again, if anyone has any questions on anything Hornet-related or paranormal stuff, just, hit up the website. All the contact info's there.
Sounds good. Thanks so much for joining us this evening, Summer, and we'll be in touch. I will see you soon, my friend.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right. Good night, Summer. All right,
Good night.
everybody. I'm wrapping it up. Stay tuned for Chris Jordan and his show. It's been a great evening. I hope everyone has a great Friday night and an awesome weekend. Stay safe out there. Behave. We'll be back next week. Have a good evening. Peace out.